Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Coffee. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation. Good evening, and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I'm your host, Justin D. Morgan. And I just realized the dinosaur is feeling a bit deflated. There we go. That's better. Also, oh yeah, that's going to be fun. Due to power outages in the past 24 hours, my smart outlets are misbehaving, so I may have to manually turn a few of them on. Yes, very deflated dino, as Sad Mac says. So let's see who we have in the chat. I have heaters running. It is like 40 degrees. Oh, 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Yay! That extra degree makes it feel so much warmer. Not really. I had some heat running before I came downstairs, but since I wasn't down here, I didn't turn the space heater behind me on high until after I came down here for safety reasons. So anyways, let's see here. Who we have in the chat? We have Thomas Armstrong. Eep. Hi, Thomas. We have GutBomb saying just in time. Yes, I was trying to start on time tonight. And it looks like I might have just barely not made it. We have Jeremy's Vintage Hillbilly Shack. Hi, Jeremy. We have 0.5. Nanu. Hi, 0.5. We have Bill Lewis. Hi, Bill. We have Retrotech Chris. Hi, Chris. We have SadMac356. Hi, SadMac. We have Any-Bit Fever Dreams. Hi, Michael. Yes, GutBomb says your autofocus is freaking out. Yeah, and I'll just confuse it more by doing a dance that will just really make it go crazy. Thomas Armstrong's probably asking, is the weather a problem there? Only if you call getting down to the low teens a problem, which I do, because uninsulated basement means space heaters only, because all that heat is going to go right out the foundation walls. So, yeah, it got down to like, I don't know what it got down to. The fact that the power was off for an hour this afternoon probably didn't help, because that meant the heat wasn't running upstairs for that heat to kind of make its way down here and then out of the house. 1-bits. Oh, we have 1-bit Fever Dreams. Michael signed into his other account. Is the autofocus freaking out because of the dino's face? That is quite possible. It is quite possible that it's freaking out because it can't decide which face to focus on. And I'm sure the Masm box isn't helping. We have Mac84. Hi, Steve. Jeremy says, now the facial hair is finally taking shape. Thank you, Jeremy. Yes. Unfortunately, when you first start growing it, it does look a bit rough, but it is taking shape. So, yes, you can call me Mr. Justin DVD Morgan. No, Mr.'s not necessary. 1-bit says, Masm focused stream confirmed. Yes. Mac84 says, yes, heat is important. Yes, and anyone wondering what the first power outage of the day was due to, I have no idea. I could probably go back in my text messages and see if the co-op even said. The second power outage that happened while I was at work was, quote, animal related. So you can fill in the blanks there. I'm probably glad I was not cleaning up afterwards. Max says, pro tip, just don't shave for 15 years. All right, so anyways, we have plenty of things that need to be opened and repaired. We probably won't get to all of them tonight. I also realized I left stuff on my workbench that is going to make things a little awkward. And I think first we are going to go to not the segment you think we're going to. We are going to go to the segment Things I Bought from You All. Because while I did see this item on eBay, I luckily recognized the account that listed it. And I made the comment to this person on Discord, hey, I see you have a nice computer listed on eBay. And well, they gave me the friend price. So let me go grab the box here. A well-done squirrel that not even the most desperate of hunters is going to want to try to eat. Who knows? Maybe the squirrel is fighting crime out there. Oh, and did we... and of course, you know, the thing is, it was a power outage, and Comcast sent me the text message, we've noticed there's an outage at your location. And by golly, didn't they send a really quick, your service is restored email after the power company sent out there, we've restored your service. So, anyways, yeah, GutBomb says if that's a VIC-20, well, let's see what we've got in here. Although I do have to say, first, we do have, the box does say, handle with care. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to show it very easily. But we do have some nerd supplies. And we have a meme master here. Alright, so apparently we alright, let me remove it from the packaging. We have a meme. We have a meme. Jeremy says, thanks, Concast. Not. Yeah, I was thinking that Xfinity was trying to insert themselves in as the hero, when in reality, I know it was probably all on the Power Co-op and none on Xfinity. So, how about maybe just try to step in as the hero when your service is actually down for reasons that involve a fallen tree? Alright, so we first have a no regrets meme here. Thomas Armstrong says, is it a box of Trident cards? We'll see. We'll see. I know what's supposed to be in here. Alright, so we will continue opening. I was advised to open this right side up. Alright, we've got paper bags. Good, ecologically friendly packing. I will hold on to these and reuse them. And apparently I have the world's smallest VIC-20 Raspberry Pi case. How cool. How cool is that? It is a VIC-20. Oh no. GutBomb's going to be after my case because he's told me if that's a VIC-20. Well, hi Eric, welcome. Oh, thank you. It's breathing. And we have we have a Sony DVD player. Oh, awesome. All right. It's a Sony, not a phony. All right, we have a DVD player. I'll let you all try to guess who I bought this from. So your clues currently are, Back84 says, now you can watch DVDs while you solder. Yes, I can. All right, y'all probably see the pièce de résistance. Or at least the corner of it. Oh, hi, Callan, welcome. I should probably move the AT-style keyboard because I just realized. Just despite the fact that I knew what was in this box, I was like, nah, I can leave this stuff here. Everything will fit. I'm going to be repairing stuff that needs this stuff anyways. Yeah, no. All right. And, of course, I'm going to bump the microphone. All right, let's see if I can't get this out of the box. All right. Because I know we have some Mac experts in the chat. I'm going to try to set it on the bench in a way that all right, just making sure there's nothing on the bottom other than lots of paper. Okay, I don't see anything else in it. Ah, GutBomb's confirming that was the last time. Yes. The seller of this Mac was GutBomb. Jeremy's guessing a Power Mac 7500. No, that would be a good guess, but would not be a correct guess. It is not a 7500. Steve says it's obviously an iMac G4. Yes, obviously it's an iMac G4. Callan guesses a 2VX. That would also be a good guess, but is also not correct. I like how the guesses have kind of completely skipped this particular Mac. And we have Steve, who can't be fooled for long. If it's not a 7500 and it's not a 2VX, it pretty much has to be a Quadra 650. And Steve is correct. We have a Quadra 650 that GutBomb had listed on eBay. And I had the forethought of just asking the simple question on Discord. Nice Mac you've got. And friend pricing later. I've got this lovely Quadra 650 with bonus refas, as GutBomb is warning me. Yes, I was not planning on powering this up tonight because I don't think I have the cap kit to repair it. And apparently I'm even struggling to find the screwdriver to open it. There we go. There's the iFixit kit. Yes, because the power supply is in these. Yeah, I know. I could go yoink a power supply, but the Performa 600 is under stuff. The Quadra 700 CD is under stuff. Actually, I might have a 2CI one that's recapped. I'll check. Oh, we might power it up later. Or we might power it up now. I might throw caution to the wind and power it up now. Who knows? But I'm not like Joe. I don't think Reefa's smoke smells like marshmallows. I think it smells like it. Whenever someone talks about dank memes, that's kind of what I think Reefa smoke smells like. It's dank memes, whatever that means. All right. And it could be because I'm getting dank and damp mixed up. V-Borg. Oh, hi, Tim. Welcome. V-Borg's, Tim's asking, but do snozberries taste like snozberries? Jeremy says, burned Jim socks, in my opinion. GutBomb says, dank is just damp and dark. Okay, well, maybe Reefas don't smell like dank memes, because damp is not quite the description I would use. Anyways, we have a lovely Aztec power supply that is being securely held in by this Apple piece of plastic here. We've got the floppy drive. We have space for a blue SCSI. We have the CD-ROM drive, which is tray loading for our convenience. We have the true star of the show here, the 68040 processor. None of those LC things. This is going to be the full 040. Oh, GutBomb says the floppy drive actually works too. Yeah, the manual inject ones usually work. And we have RAM. So this is going to be awesome. Bonus refas for days. 56 megabytes. GutBomb set, thanks. Jesse says Spindler Plastic. Hi, Jesse. We have I8386 in the chat. Yes, actually, this may be decent on plastic. Anyways, all right, I think maybe I will risk it. I'll risk it for brisket. I just don't know where the brisket's coming from because I have none in my house. Anyways, while I find all of the various cords I need to plug into this to make it at least power up and risk the basement smelling like burned gym socks, as Jeremy put it. That's a pretty good description. Tim says risk it for the biscuit. I don't have any biscuits in my house either. I better be careful. Someone might revoke my Southern card with no biscuits in the house. All right, my smart outlet is one of the items that is not cooperating at the moment due to the power going off twice today. So I'm going to have to use the extendo-matic thing-a-majig to try to press the button. There we go. The Quadra 650 is live. And now we will see if it will be alive with the sound of music or alive with the sound of... Chong! Nice, healthy bong there. All right, we will go to... I don't have a keyboard plugged in because there's no blue SCSI, but... Tim says Virginia's barely Southern. You're excused. All right, you're right there. GutBomb says, and I think I removed the battery. You probably did. Where's the battery holder? Oh, there it is. Yes, there's no battery in here, so I don't have to worry about setting it aside for a rainy day. All right. Actually, let's at least do a brief test here. Let's see here. I don't think there's there's no external floppy drive connector on the Quadra 650. Jesse says the barbecue place in the middle of the woods is closed until noon tomorrow. No brisket until then. Yeah, I think by the time I'd get there, the best barbecue place around is probably closed for tomorrow as well. Oh, wait. You know, I wish I had like a connector that would let me just plug the floppy emu into the end of the floppy connector on the Mac and not have to disassemble the floppy emu, because actually I just realized the floppy connector is not really available without disassembling the floppy emu. Oh, alright. Because we all want to know if the Quadra 650 will boot. I'll at least let it boot into the desktop. So I guess I'm going to just take the floppy emu apart here. I'm fairly sure it's already in Mac mode, so I don't think I'll have to change the firmware on it. Oh, wait. Or is it in... Oh, it might be in Apple II mode now that I think about it. No, that's right. That's why I booted the Laser 128 with actual floppy disks, is because my floppy emu still has Mac firmware on it. All right. One of these days, I'm going to get a 20-pin extender cable so I can just plug my floppy emu into the ribbon cable that's already in the Mac and not have to take the cover apart to unplug the ribbon cable on it, so that I can do the following. Well, actually, I'm going to have to take that apart. Yes, now the next time I pull my floppy emu out, well, when it's still disassembled because I forgot to put it back together, well, if you watch tonight's stream, you'll know exactly why. Actually, I will put it back together tonight because it is incredibly handy. So anyways, there we go. Yes, it does have Macintosh firmware on it. So let's see here. Macintosh stuff. Let's see here. Utilities. We will boot the snooper disk, which may not be compatible with this Mac. It is not compatible with this Mac. GutBomb says I designed a new top for this case that leaves the connector exposed. Ah, Steve just ordered a cable like that. He'll link me. Excellent. Ah, okay. Solutions are all over the place. All right, well, I guess let's go to system disks. System 753 should probably be... we'll boot Disk Tools 1. There we go. I just wanted to see it boot. Yep. I was just looking for something that'll boot without anything special. Looks like I'll be 3D printing something soon, so I can be able to, like, use the floppy emu like this. Just gonna boot it, we'll see it boot, and then we'll know that this would have been an excellent eBay purchase. If only for the fact that I knew the eBay seller and, like, reached out to them. So thanks, GutBomb, for letting me go around the whole eBay process. And there we go. GutBomb says my 3D print is a new lid for the floppy emu, and I typically leave one of those long cables hanging out of the back of the 650 through one of the expansion slot holes. Ah, that is actually also a very good idea. Because there are... Yes, that might be a good idea. I may order one of those extensions that Steve just linked. Even get them from eBay, that place where I buy the things I later regret. And I'll add one of those to my watch list. Oh, they're in stock in the US too. Excellent. All right. The Quadra 650 boots, and that is actually no surprise to me. All right, I don't have a keyboard or mouse plugged in, so... Anyways, you will see this more in the future. But let's just say that I could not pass up the opportunity to get a Quadra 650. Oh, hi, Mike. Yeah, Mike of Mike's Future Retro here, asking if I have one of those Bamboo 3D printers. And no, I do not have one of those Bamboo 3D printers. I was actually thinking of buying one of those Bamboo 3D printers. However, I have decided against buying one of those Bamboo 3D printers because I'm kind of concerned about the direction they may be headed with some of their latest changes. I mean, I'm all for, don't get me wrong, I'm all for Internet of Things devices that are secure and not going to just be the next device that gets caught up in some botnet of insecure devices that are going to be sending out who knows what to people. But I'm also don't want to put my 3D... I really don't want to connect my 3D printer to the internet, because it is a device that has things that get hot in it. And quite honestly, I would just as soon have those devices not open on the internet and possibly someone deciding to find the way to hack into the printer through the online interface and set the hot end to like maximum heat and it burn the house down or something. All right, I do know that... All right, it looks like I might have been caught up by some of the misinformation on bamboo printers. Okay, first of all, I have not watched Louis Rosman's video. I actually don't usually watch his videos. I'm not a fan of his style. Also, quite honestly, as quickly as his video came out, I got the distinct impression it was a going to be one of the lesser informed videos because of how quickly he uploaded a video. I at least realized that I am now putting this together without the ribbon cable in it. Oh well, I'm moving on. I just don't want to lose the pieces to this. But, all right, GutBomb says, I think the drama over the bamboo stuff is overblown. There's a lot of misinformation out there right now. I would probably definitely agree to that. I've been trying not to get caught up to it. Mike says, Louis Rossman has a whole video on their subscriptions to use your own printers, or they hold your printer hostage. All right. GutBomb says, that's the misinformation. I have 2 bamboo printers, and there's no subscription. GutBomb says, and no provision for subscription. Everything is speculation that people are getting frothed up about. All right, I sure thought I watched a video from someone that mentioned they updated their end user license agreement, and it had some unfavorable language in it. I don't know what it said, but then again, sounds like I'm just going to have to go onto Bamboo's site and look at their end user license agreement. But I do know that, what's his name? His alter ego's Red Shirt Jeff. What's his name? I can't think of his name. He did have some good points in his last video, and one of them was that Bamboo had to go back and they made some changes to their blog posts without really calling attention to the fact they'd changed their blog posts. So that is kind of telling, whether they're changing it because they were caught off guard or what. But it does say something that they made some changes to the blog post and did not. GutBomb says they actually did call attention to it. I don't know. The whole thing's a mess. I'm when you have everyone saying things, it's hard to follow. I am somewhat concerned, though, by the fact that you might not be able to directly print to your printer. GutBomb says they changed some wording and made a new blog post clarifying their stuff. It's too much stuff for stream chat. Yeah. Oh, hi, Francois. Welcome. Oh, good night, Francois. I don't know. All right, Mike will find the video. Yeah, I know. There are some printer companies, HP, that have changed their printer model such that if you don't subscribe to ink, then you can't print. Yes. That I know is true. HP has printers that require an active ink subscription to print. Even if you are not out of ink, if you are not paying for the ink subscription, you cannot print. And that, I think I read from Ars Technica. I'm pretty sure I can trust them. At least if it comes to printers. Max says, nonsense, the live chat of a YouTube video is the perfect place to derail the live stream. And hey, look, squirrel! GutBomb says, it boils down to people using third-party slicer software, have their printer communication thing integrated into it in a separate tab right now. The new way will be a separate window instead of tab, because they are decoupling the printer communication with the slicer. I don't know. It's all confusing. There's too much misinformation. It's still... Alright. I still take pause at how badly they communicated this in the first place. Also, I did also hear or read something that also gave me pause. That was Bamboo Labs recently purchased by a investment firm. That always worries me when that happens. Yes, I am all for security of Internet of Things. I don't want my printer to start spamming Congress or anybody. But especially not spamming someone that with investigative branches to figure out where the spam is coming from. So, GutBomb says, I think a lot of the bad communication was because it was poorly translated from Chinese. Okay, well, that I could definitely buy. Mike says, I was looking at the Bamboo, but again, if you're going to cripple my device after I paid for it, then I'm going to move on to the next. I don't know. I need to sort it out, because I was actually thinking of buying a high-tier 3D printer. I had kind of thought about a Bamboo Carbon. The whole debacle did kind of make me go look to see what Prusa had, and Prusa has a nice Core XY printer that's, well, I'd probably have to wait till March or April. Okay, GutBomb says, and Bamboo was not recently sold. You know, the internet is great until people start spreading misinformation, and then it's horrible, because it's hard to decipher what's misinformation and what's the truth, even when you try your hardest. So, anyways, I apologize for apparently sharing misinformation, because I have been trying to sort the whole thing out, and apparently I failed miserably. I still, though, am concerned that they weren't able to clearly communicate it the first time. There are services that can double-check your translations for you. Yes, it does cost a little money, but they can double-check your translations to make sure they are on point. Just saying, a company of Bamboo Labs' calibers could probably afford to have a proofreader check over their blog first. But, alright, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they tried and fumbled it the first time, but still, I might still go with a Prusa, because apparently Prusa has a Core XY printer that's recently released. So, there is that. And, although I do know there are some people that are mad at Prusa right now, because Prusa's not publishing the PCB files on day one. But I think Prusa printers are still open source. I think Prusa said the reason they don't do that anymore is because they were tired of the Chinese clones of their printer on day 2. Basically, after they'd published the entire thing needed to build one. So, oh, hi, Joe's Computer Museum. Joe says, boop. So, anyways, yes. GutBomb says, Prussa are some of the folks peddling some of the misinformation. Well, that's not... Okay, you're going to make it to the point where I'm just never going to buy a 3D printer ever again, so you might want to stop that. Because, yeah, if you confuse me to the point where I can't decipher who's telling the truth and who's not, I will just not buy the product in question ever. And I'll move on, and I'll just go to buying image writers. And then Steve will have to start sharing misinformation to preserve his sweet, sweet source of image writer product availability. Actually, now that we've opened and tested the Quadra 650, which did not come from eBay, and before we get too sidelined by the fact that I would like to buy a 3D printer, Mike's all right. Well, let me catch up on the chat here real quick. Mike's got a good question, and it's very good. Mike says, anyway, let's get back to Justin's project tonight. Can we talk bamboo printers on Sunday at Dave's place? I like the idea, and I will even try to do some more of my research so that if we do have a discussion on bamboo printers, I can at least have a more informed collective of information. Steve says, long live the image writers. Mike's Future Retro says, Image Writer 2S, yes. Oh, Image Writer 2s, yes. Thomas says, you need a panda for bamboo. Yeah. Hi, Mega, welcome. Mega, can't even figure out what printer to buy since there's so many printers. Yeah, that is a hard choice. Callan says, old school Ender for the win. GutBomb says, buy Joe's giant printer, smiley face. I don't know if that's the wisest 3D printer choice. Especially if that's the one Joe's been having trouble with. I want one that I click print and it just prints. I really don't want one that I have to debug from minute 0. I don't mind a little assembly. I don't mind the fact if I have to run a calibration cycle first, but I really don't want one that requires debug from the get-go. Jesse says the downside is the PoE... Oh, wait. That's not the first. Jesse says... Jesse's talking about something networked. Jesse says that's exactly why I restored an image writer 2 to use for my eBay store. For some reason that I've completely missed. Has it networked using a PoE to serial adapter? It's great. Only downside is the PoE adapter only connects to a switch that is capable of negotiating at 10 megabit. Yes. Mike says, I got a Color Minolta Magicolor Office Workstation laser printer locked into their toner. Relaxing. The official toner is close to $1,000 for all 4 color cartridges. Yikes. Yes, I have a Xerox, and apparently their the chip that's in their printer cartridges is has been cloned, because I was able to buy generic ones, and they look just as good as the Xerox ones. I have other issues with that Xerox printer, but cheap toner availability isn't one of them. I just can't stand the fact that it randomly wakes up for no reason, which causes lights to flicker because it heats up, and I can't figure out what's causing it. I can't find in the settings like a wake at a certain time, because there's no clock in the thing that I know of. It's not like there's some random device trying to print, because nothing ever prints out. I don't know. It's weird. I think I even tried updating the firmware, and that didn't fix it. Steve says, I have a full head of hair and was voted the sexiest man alive for 9 years running. No misinformation here. Good one, Steve. Jesse says, my wife doesn't appreciate the image writer 2 as much as we do. Yes, I know. It's one of those things that, yeah, some people just don't get it. Mike says, I would like an informed and educated conversation. I would like to learn from the conversation. Yes, I think we all would. Maybe we can then help each other cut through the misinformation that's being spread about 3D printers. Joe says, that reminds me, I need to do some of the maintenance that tech support told me to do. Glad I could remind you, Joe. One bit says assembly. MASM? No, it's going to be more assembly in terms of the following.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our favorite segment, Wheel of Regrets. Here's your host, Justin D. Morgan.
Hey, who comes up with these titles anyway?
And apparently I fell for the I muted myself so that you could hear the animation. Yes, I think I got the fact that no one could hear me. And I was just explaining the first item up for Wheel of Regrets is this lovely box here that I need to open right side up. Because I think it's probably a bad idea to start Wheel of Regrets off with something like this, but, well, it's a really heavy box for its size. I'm hoping it's what I ordered and not, like, lead or plutonium or something like that. Oh, looks like I misspoke to someone. There actually is a little bit of packing material in here. Jesse says it could be worse. You can have 2 mutes on and they don't work. Yes. Oh boy. All right. So there are some eBay sellers that will caringly wrap things up in bubble wrap. And then there are eBay sellers like this that will put all the bubble wrap on the top of hard drives. At least this eBay seller accepts returns, because I think I see an outgoing package incoming. Let's see what I got. GutBomb says, I bet there's no bubble wrap on the bottom even. Yeah. All right. Yes, we know. All right, so we have 7... I'll go ahead and spoil this part. There are 7 IDE hard drives that were listed as working. And somehow, I suspect not a single one of them is going to work now. But we have a Maxtor 80 gigabyte hard drive, which may now be a 0 gigabyte hard drive. Oh, this one might have a slightly better chance of working because it actually has a plastic shield over the PCB. We have a Maxtor 20 gigabyte hard drive. Thomas Armstrong says they will all work. That's a bold guess, Thomas. I haven't even shown you all the hard drives. We have a Seagate Barracuda 160 gigabyte hard drive. No, Jeremy, if they don't work, or if a significant portion of them do not work, I will be returning them because the seller accepts returns. When you package badly and it doesn't work out, you get it back. And it will probably cost them more for the return than they... Actually, this box is so heavy, there's a chance they just send me a refund and say, please, do not drop that in the outgoing mail. We have a Western Digital 20 gigabyte hard drive. Jesse says that second Maxtor was dead before they shipped. Yeah. It gets better, Jesse. Just wait. The last one's going to be real special. Oh, this one might actually have a chance of working. It's got a metal shield on the bottom. We have another Western Digital 20 gigabyte hard drive. We have, a Seagate Barracuda 20 gigabyte hard drive, and actually that one's got a shield on it too. So at least we've got a couple that the PCBs hopefully don't have stuff knocked off of them. GutBomb says, I like that you're being really gentle with them, as if it makes a difference after their wild ride. Well, I don't want the eBay seller to find my live stream and say, you manhandled them! or something to that effect. I'm being gingerly with them. And last but not least, the pièce de résistance. An IBM IBM Desk Star 34.2 gigabyte hard drive. All right. We all know this one was probably dead 20 years ago. And yet, Mega says, it's only broken a little bit. Yeah. Yes, so if the eBay seller finds my live stream, not only is the hacking on video because I opened it live, but they can't say that I rough housed the hard drives because I set them down gingerly on this Quadra 650. That it's not going to collapse or fall over because it's got enough heft to it. And it's not like they can even say that it'll build up static charge because it's a metal case. Jeremy says, good grief, I hated those IBM drives even 20 years ago. Jesse says, hey, recording an unboxing video was enough to get eBay to pull a negative feedback off my store. Excellent. All right. Because of how badly these were packaged, I am thinking that we got to test them, at least to see if they F-disk. GutBomb says I record every time I open an eBay package. There is possibly something you all haven't realized that Wheel of Regrets might serve as, yeah, you all are probably realizing it does serve an ulterior motive in that if I live stream my eBay purchases for my channel, well, I can point, not only can I point the sellers to the point in the video, if they really want to see how badly it went, I can point eBay to it as well. If it would come to a seller trying to refuse a return. Although, in this case, there's probably a 60% chance the eBay seller will tell me to keep them. Because I think the return shipping would cost them more than they want to pay. In fact, that might be why they're so horribly packaged. Because they listed these for $10 plus like $12 in shipping. So if you wonder why in the world I would even gamble on 7 smallish hard drives, it's because I thought if they even halfway decently packaged them, that maybe at least half of them would work. Yeah, I think the total was like $23. And I was like, okay, if 4 of them work, that's like $6 a piece. Yeah, GutBomb says that's a pretty great price. Jeremy says, moral of this, pack your junk correctly. Yeah, GutBomb says, if they work, yeah. I was like, if 4 of them work, then $6 a piece. I'm willing to like 3 of them being total garbage, and I just move on. Because $6, well, I may tell the seller, hey, 3 were garbage, but they could call my bluff. I'm not going to send them back at 4. Now, if I don't have 3 working ones, it's going to depend on which ones work. Because I kind of need some smaller hard drives. So if 3 of them work and they're like 3 of the smaller ones, then yeah, I'd probably still keep them. Yeah, sure, that's $8 a piece. But to get 3, if I got 3 20 gigs, or at least 2 20 gigs and something larger out of it, I'd be like, okay, fine. Any less than 3, they're going back. I don't care what drives are working. Unless the Death Star actually works 100%. That might actually be worth that might actually be worth the price for a fully working Death Star hard drive. That's unlikely to happen, though. It's got to be fully working. I mean, like, 0 bad sectors. Even 1 bad sector, and we know those drives flake off the metallic coating on the platter. So if it's got even one bad sector, it's self-destructing. So, yeah. Normally, I would say bad sectors on hard drives should be treated like cancer, and they are probably going to spread. On an IBM DeskStar, part of the reason they fail is the plating on the drive actually comes off the platter, and they physically become basically spinning glass plates with metal particles floating around. And as you can probably tell, that doesn't work very effectively as a hard drive. Joe says, magnet dust. All right. I guess because we've got a pile of hard drives, and this is Wheel of Regrets. All right. I want to open the other packages before we get too far. But then I think we do need to test hard drives because that box came yesterday, so I've been holding it for a day. No, actually, I think that was here Tuesday. Oh, yeah, I apologize for canceling Tuesday's stream. I didn't want to, but I got asked to do something very early at work Wednesday. Which meant I was like, had to, kind of one of those. I had stuff I had to do, and I had to be at work early Wednesday. So it's kind of one of those that I had to basically say that, well, I can't live stream because I can't risk not being at work early. So I apologize. All right, so the next potential eBay regret, although this probably is not a potential regret, this is actually a name brand socket. I have a PGA socket. Now, the eagle-eyed among you might have already figured out what motherboard this is for. Jeremy says, pro tip for anyone who has a dead hard drive or two and can't get money out of it, take the magnets out and stick them to your car's engine and transmission oil pans to catch ferric particles. No, Jeremy, this is not a 486 socket. There are not enough pins. That is possibly... That might actually be correct for a 386. I haven't looked. GutBomb says, not with that attitude. Thomas Armstrong says, was it IBM that used the diamond coat rust? Could have been. This is actually a socket for a... this is, I think, a PGA 121 socket. This is actually the correct socket for a 387 DX coprocessor or a WeTech 3167 processor. Yes, Thomas, I also do believe it is also correct for an 030. I actually am not sure that is quite correct for a 386 DX because I thought it had like one more row of pins. Anyways, this is for that board that the 386 board I have that has the 72 pin SIMs and it has an unpopulated coprocessor socket. Well, that should be the PGA socket put in the unpopulated coprocessor socket area. It even has the key pin that's present on the motherboard, which will help with not inserting the coprocessor wrong. GutBomb says, I don't think there are enough pins for an 030. Well, I don't have an 030 to try it. But anyways, I know this is the correct one for the motherboard for the coprocessor. Because there's 13 by 13 pins. Anyways, I was trying to look at this to see if I could remember what the brand is. I think it's a Samtec. Because there's the S on it. So I think this actually might be a vintage socket. Anyways, that motherboard is actually one of the boards I was going to put on the bench and repair. And we'll go ahead and install that socket at the same time because I'm curious. First of all, I'd like to make sure I ordered the right socket. All right, next we have... This is the last item for repairing computers. Jeremy says, Samtech or Superman? Lol. I mean, it could be a Superman socket, but it did not arrive faster than a speeding bullet, stronger than a locomotive, or whatever the other sayings are. Oh, wow. Apparently this is Let's Pack Drives Poorly Week. So our next contestant in Wheel of Regrets is this lovely Mitsumi floppy drive that at least they wrapped the bubble wrap around it. But if you'll remember the gateway that I put the DVD decoder card in, let's just say that I think this floppy drive is an exact match for the gateway faceplate. And after thinking 2 seconds about how long that computer was in use and how dusty it was before I dusted it, I decided that it's probably just best to replace the floppy drive. So anyways, I bought a new old stock Mitsumi floppy drive for that gateway computer. So there we go. Jesse says it found the planet Krypton. Yes. Anyways, we might be testing this tonight too to make sure it survived shipping and can actually read floppy disks. That might actually be one of the first things we repair, because a floppy drive swap should be fairly quick. All right, and last but not least, and I'm hoping Retro Tech Chris is around in the chat. I think he might be interested to know that I picked one of these up. And also, I will have to say that someone in the chat, that is currently in the chat, had an idea about how I could, GutBomb says, if that's a VIC-20 Raspberry Pi case. Darn it! No, this is not a Raspberry Pi VIC-20 case. If it is, then the seller will be getting a return request, even though it was no returns. This actually could be an eBay regret, because this seller had no returns. But this is kind of one of those items that doesn't show up on eBay very often, because I tried my hardest to not buy this, because I was like, VCF East is in a couple months, VCF East is in a couple months, VCF East is in a couple months. Coffee link in the description to help with the goal. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, this is one of those items that's not guaranteed to show up at VCF East. And they don't show up on eBay that often. Thomas Armstrong says, I cleaned my PS3 up and gaming on it again. Excellent. So we have, we've got, okay, now this is actually packaged good. Or packaged well. So at least that's not the regret. And we have eBay branded tape, which, since I don't have an eBay store that I pay for, well, I don't think I'll have the opportunity to buy eBay tape. I think you can only buy eBay tape if you actually pay for an eBay store. And I don't sell that much on eBay. Because I don't think the eBay store gives you, like, discounts on listing, final value fees. Oh, no. Of course not. I think really the thing an eBay store lets you do is list more than 200 items in a month without charge. Anyways, we have, alright, fortunately, hi Dave! We have Dave's Vintage Apple Tech here. Welcome, Dave. Yeah, Jesse says you have to pay for a subscription. Yes. Jeremy says, somebody's a pro eBay scowl or seller. Yes. Anyways, all right. As you can see, GutBomb, this is not a VIC-20 Raspberry Pi case. All right. So we've got some memory slots here. I'm gonna give the slow reveal. There are actually 6. No, there's 8 72-pin SIM sockets on this board. Yes, 8. And it is an ATX board. Jesse says I don't get no tape either. Yeah. Honestly, I think with as much as I buy on eBay, they should send me a roll of tape. All right. All right. I'm pretty sure once I flip it over, it'll be obvious what this is. Oh, yeah. There's no hiding that now. Quadra 650 is probably mad at me now for using it to hold this. GutBomb says, Pro! Yes! Oh, good. It doesn't look as bad in person. Thomas Armstrong says, more bubble wrap. Yes, I bought more bubble wrap from eBay. I have a dual Pentium Pro motherboard. GutBomb says, plenty of slots for Pico Gus. Yes, there are. I don't know how much memory this is. It's like, I think this listing said it was like 448 megabytes. Yeah, and the RAM. Yeah, no, look at this. 8 SIM slots. ATX power. One of the sockets does look a little bit yellowed, although the listing made it look way worse than that. Okay, that's not as bad as I thought it was. No, it is not that Rambus stuff. These should be 72-pin EDO SIMs. But anyways, unfortunately, I still don't have heat sinks. So we are going to be very careful for testing. GutBomb says, robust VRM modules, you get to recap, probably. Yeah, probably. I suspect they will need recapped. All right. So I can now take these 2 Pentium Pro processors that I got from Retrotech Chris. I believe these are 180 megahertz ones. Yeah, I think they're 180 megahertz. And we've got 1 Pentium Pro. I think I had a slightly bent pin or something. Didn't quite slide in as easily as I thought it should, but it went in. And we have 2 little Pentium Pros. No, these are not little. They are big. I don't have coolers for them, Jeremy. I do not. I looked on eBay, and there was one listing that claimed it was a Pentium Pro cooler, and it did not look right for a Pentium Pro cooler. The dimensions were right, but honestly, it didn't look like it was going... Oh, there we go. There is a bent pin here. All right, let me straighten the pin here real quick. Jeremy says a stack of Raspberry Pi heat sinks. Jeremy's saying 180 it. No, that's not the problem, Jeremy. There's a bent pin. Which I'm having trouble getting to unbend. Yeah, GutBomb says I keep seeing Pentium Pro processors listed on eBay as scrap gold. Yeah. Yeah, Chris was hoping these would go to a good home. He told me, yeah, here's a list of stuff I'm trying to give away. Could you use any of it? I'm hoping the Pentium Pros go to a good home. I think that was reverse psychology. He probably wanted me to take them, which I did. I think that was the first thing on his list I accepted was the Pentium Pros. There we go. I think that will. Nope. I bet there's another pin that's bent. Unfortunately, oh yeah. Wow, that was a really. Yeah, that pin I tried to unbend. I didn't unbend it very well. The pin arrangement is making it hard to see to unbend. All right, I think that might actually be good. No. Oh, there's still another pin that's bent. It's not a pin unbending video, which is why I'm doing it where I can see what I'm doing. There's a lot of pins on a Pentium Pro processor. At least there's a lot of room to hold it in the middle. Oh, I bet I still have one that's bent. GutBomb says they aren't just Pentium Pros. Since you have two of them, they're Pentium Bros. Yeah. Yeah, that would be on the Bad Tech Dad Jokes calendar, which we'll have to make sure GutBomb gets one of next year. No, that doesn't actually exist, unfortunately. Or, not yet. All right. Now will they plug it? Oh! Maybe I was trying to put it in backwards, too. That doesn't help. That's embarrassing. I was trying to put it in backwards. But there was a bent pin, too, in my defense. Capcom says 19 watching and only 9 likes. Come on, also sub if you're not subbed. Yes, thank you. I am so close to 700 subs. Hold, please, while I continue to try to straighten the pin or two that was bent. All right. Still got a pin that is slightly cattywampus. Oh, maybe that's right there. Here I am trying to get this so I can very carefully power it up, and I'm struggling to get the processor in the socket. There's like something in the socket? No. Oh. That kind of still. Joe says, "Welcome to Socket 8. Please stand by, as Socket 7 will have better, faster, higher performing chips in a year." Yes, please be careful when you try to insert a Pentium Pro processor in the socket, because there are so many pins. And half of them are in the standard square grid array thingamajig, and half of them are in the like more sets of five, more the socket 7 style versus the sockets 1 through 4 style. Really play tricks on you to try to figure out which pin is the one that's preventing it from going in the socket. Of course, maybe I should. Well, the socket looks fine. I don't see anything in the socket. Let me turn this so I can see the. Maybe so I can actually see which pin is not going in. It is. Oh, There we go. I found the pin. What about socket 775? Oh, well, yeah. Don't bend those pins either. And really don't bend like socket AM4 pins, because those are like really, really, really close together. And definitely don't bend the pins that are the pins where was it land grid array chips where the pins are on the motherboard side? Oh boy. That's Pain City if you bend one of those pins. But yeah, those processors are kind of too new for my channel, luckily, so I don't have to worry about those for a little while longer. But eventually those will become vintage. Arg. Trident Video does this. Yeah. Whoever ran this server, maybe they didn't use a Trident card and now the Pentium Pro is jealous. Oh wait, that doesn't make sense. Maybe they did. Actually, no, I think these were probably in a workstation. I got them from RetroTech Chris. I think he pulled them from his Pentium Pro system because he upgraded to Pentium Pro 200s, I believe. I must have accidentally bent a few of these pins. Or maybe they were bent earlier. I don't know. I'm still trying to. It was like every time I find the pin that I think's bent, and I bend it to what looks like it's correct, and I try to put the processor in the socket, another pin bends. And this is how my repair pile grows. I have a live stream where I'm going to try to work on the repair pile. I then have Wheel of Regrets, and I spend a lot of time trying to unbend pins. Oh, there's another bent pin. Mike says, I love bent pins on the Xenon socket. Yeah. Mike says, I have to have Colin rework a Mac Pro 5.1 board for me on the processor socket. I've got a 1.1. It's my only Mac Pro at the moment, and I'm totally fine with that. Because anything newer, not really retro in my case. And yes, Colin is mad genius. That is for sure. And for my working Mac that I use there we go. There we go. Success. Thomas Armstrong says, we got a snowplow alert. Possible 1 inch. All right, so I'm going to move the Quadra 650 off the workbench because I have to grab an ATX power supply here. I also am going to see if I have anything I can set on the Pentium Pros to act as a heatsink. Otherwise, we'll only turn it on just for a very, very short amount of time to see if the board. Actually, I think I have two. Here we go. I've got two Pentium 2 heat sinks. I'll just carefully use them to at least put something on the Pentium Pros. So that I'm not aware that they will self-immolate. Like say an Athlon XP or something like that. Certainly not one of AMD's greatest designs. Let's design a processor that if the heatsink comes off, the whole processor will just basically self-destruct. Although I'm sure if you ask someone in their marketing or sales department, they probably thought it was genius because, oh, well, processor self-destructs, user error, oh, we sell more processors, yay! Eric says we have 5 yesterday. I think we were down to 5 yesterday, and that was quite cold. Maybe not quite that cold, but... And no, that would be 5 Fahrenheit, not 5 Celsius. I think I would have preferred 5 Celsius. I actually think we were down to 9, but at that point, I'm not quabbling over 4 degrees. Yeah, I know, Eric, you were talking about inches of snow. I was, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. These aren't going to sit on the processors. Never mind. I mean, I could put them fan side down. All right, let me see if I've got another. Jesse says Tuesday was rough with lows of negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, that's too cold for me. All right, we'll just do the tread very carefully because I do not have heat sinks for these things. We'll just see if the board posts. And all right, we'll see if the board posts. And the moment I see signs of life, then we'll power it off. Because I don't have heat sinks. I think the Pentium Pros are probably fine. I'll put my hands on them so I can. If they get too hot, then I'm going to just power it off as well. All right, I need a video card. Because I apparently put all the video cards in on my shelf. All right, there should be a Trident on top. If not, I will probably have to turn in my Trident card. Oh, even better, I have a real tech on top. All right. All right, we'll use the real tech because I know it works. And because RetroTech Chris sent it to me along with the Pentium Pro processors. So we'll use the Realtek card. All right. So, all right, we got video, I got the post card, I've got power, I've got ATX power plugged in. All right. So I guess we'll go for post test. All right. Smoke test in. Oh, wait a minute. I should probably check jumpers first. Okay, there's turbo switch, reset, hard drive LED, turbo LED speaker. Oh, okay. So I need to check jumpers. I just realized I think there were processor speed jumpers on this. I also am going to have to look at the manual because I don't know where the power switch is. How's that for convenient? All the other ones are marked, but I don't see where the power switch is marked. I think I see where it is, but it's not marked as a power switch. All right, so this is a let's see, I think the model's on it. TN Computer Corp S1668D, which I do know the RetroWeb does have the manual for it. They do not have a picture of the board. So I will at some point take a picture of this board and actually submit an actual legitimate picture. All right, the power switch is... All right, so CPU jumper settings. CPU speed are J27, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So let's see here. J27 is probably going to be the bus speed. And so I need to have 3 and 4 on. All right, so there's that. All right, so 180 megahertz. So J21 should be on off, on off, on. Okay, that's probably multiplier. So it looks like this board was originally configured for a 200 megahertz, which makes sense. That was probably the most common part for Pentium Pro, especially if they only had one. It only looks like they had one on this board. All right, and then J11 and J12, I need to... J11 and J12 are probably... J11 is off, and J11 is on, and that should be J11 is on, and should be the other way around. All right. Completely reversed. That may be multiplier. No, actually... I don't know what that is. Okay. So, host bus speed to PCI bus speed. So, J27. Oh, okay. So, that... okay. So, J27, J11, and J12 set the PCI bus speed compared to the host bus speed. Okay. Clock multipliers J21, 22, 23, and 24. Excellent. I'm going to leave the DRAM voltage setting the same. I'm going to assume that this is the RAM that was on the board when the scrapper pulled it out of a case. Soft power on switch is J1. Where is J1 on the board? J1 is... not the one that I thought was going to be power, but it is just as easy to get to. So I am going to... somewhere I have a little power switch. I don't know. Let me see if I've got it here real quick. I think I've got a power switch. I do have a little momentary contact button. So I think it was supposed to be a reset switch, but it'll work as a power switch. And just so I can see the LEDs, I'm going to plug in the power LED. Just because. Alright. Oh, no, I'm not going to plug the power LED in. Okay, well, alright. So I've got a remote power switch that'll let me stand back in case a tantalum decides to throw a temper tantrum. So, 3, 2, 1. Oh! And the power supply went into short circuit protection mode. Ha ha! I think there's a short on the board. Alright, well, let's check with the multimeter. As I apparently knock everything off into the floor. Yeah, Setback says probably one of the tantalums. Yeah, probably. And I don't think that I necessarily have a replacement for them. Although, if I can... Alright, so I'm going to unplug the power supply momentarily. And then I'm going to realize I don't know what the pinout is on the ATX power connector. Alright, let me pull up a pinout. Wait, let me make sure the... Alright. Alright, so I got the... I think... Let me make sure that I'm looking at this reference. Yes, okay. So I've got the pinout in front of me. It's a pinout of the power supply side of the connector, but that's fine. I think as long as I put my probe in one of the commons. Alright, so that should be 3.3 volts. And put my multimeter there. So let's see, 3.3 volts. Okay, that's not a short. That should be 3.3 volts. And that is going to be 3.3 volts. And that should be the negative 12 volts, which that's not going to be shorted. And then this should be common. Alright. That's common. That's 5 volts DC. That's power supply 1. Okay, that's not shorted. That one's common. Common. I think that's going to be 5 volts DC. That's not shorted. This should be another common. 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 Alright, I think that's going to be negative 5 volts. Or no, this is probably negative 5 volts. That other one's power supply okay. That's going to be, I think, plus 5 volts standby. That is probably 5 volts DC. That one's probably 5 volts DC. And last but not least, I think the one that's going to be 12 volts. And no, I don't see... There's no shorts on the multimeter. Alright, let me try it again. Maybe I did something wrong? Alright, let's try it again. Oh, no postcode. Alright. There's no postcode. So, possible that... Alright, let's try it one more time. And I'm going to check the... Interesting. Yeah. There's something wrong with the power button I'm using. That was why it shut off so quick the first time. Too much of a load. Reminds me of a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, Last Crusade. Monk at the end. He did not choose wisely. Yeah, I'm trying to look, see if there's like any. All right, let me scroll through the manual here real quick. No, shouldn't be too much of a load. That's like that power supply is like a. How about let's not assume. Oh, that it's a 600-watt power supply. I mean, it's not providing negative 5 volts. There's nothing on this board that should need negative 5 volts to post. Let me check the other jumpers real quick. Maybe I missed one. All right. Factory defaults do not change. J31, J48, and J49 should be off. All right. I guess maybe I will double check. I don't know where those are. J48, J49 are near the power connector. They are off. And J31 is... that one, it's also off. Okay. So, CPU speed jumpers. One off, one on, one off. That's 3 and 4. This would have just misconfigured the... Okay. COM1 and 2. Okay, that's not going to keep it from posting. Preset, flash, super IO type. Oh. 651R. So J21, J26 should be 1 and 2. Okay, let me check a jumper here. Should not have changed. But you never know when someone tried to monkey with a board to get it to work and they just started changing random jumpers. Oh, interesting. I don't see the jumper it's talking about. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, that jumper, it's for the Super IO type. That one's correct. Soft power on switch. Okay. CPU fan power. All right, let me check the voltage ID jumpers real quick. Okay, they are all off, which I think is correct for most Pentium Pros. Okay. I presume. All right, let's. Oh, I just realized something. The floppy connector pins are. None of them are shorted, but these last few are bent. Like someone unplugged a cable without care. Let me make sure there's nothing else shorted. Okay, I don't see any other header pins bent out of place. All right, let's try again. After changing nothing. Nope. No post. Nada. All right. I guess first troubleshooting step is let's take it down to one bank of RAM. So those are two 128 meg modules. So that was going to be the that was not bank 1, that was bank 4. We'll take it down to one bank of RAM. Which means I think we'll have 64 megs of RAM, but that should be fine. All right. I guess I can make sure it's seated. There we go. All right. And according to the postcard, I have 12 volts, negative 12 volts, and 3.3 volts. It's not showing. There's no 5-volt LED. Guess I could put the card in an ISA slot and see if I get a different result. Or let me at least maybe put it in a different PCI slot. There we go. No. The other thing I can think of is maybe this board. The CPUs are starting to get like a touch warm. I mean, I do feel that there is a little bit of heat there, but nothing concerning. All right, I guess I can do this here. Much troubles I had putting this processor in. Let's go down to one. All right, we'll go down to one CPU. Okay. this is socket 0. Let's maybe remove this CPU. I'll put the other CPU in its place. It's always possible that. Oh, I just realized the heatsink tab on this first socket is one of them's broken, so I will have to find probably a heatsink that doesn't need that particular pin. Okay, so let's put this one in socket 0. I'm not going to put anything in socket 1 for the immediate moment. All right, let's see if it starts to post. No. That's a no. All right. I can probably put the other Pentium Pro back in. Normally, I would probably troubleshoot with. Oh, that's a problem. I just found a problem. Okay, that's also weird. All right, let's get a better look under the socket. I just realized there's looks like there's a broken capacitor right there. Okay, that is just really weird. Yeah, that's probably causing a problem. I guess I should probably remove this other socket and just double check there's no shenanigans going on under it, too. Sorry, I have the chat. All right, I'm probably going to opt to just remove the capacitor in question because I would think one capacitor is probably the lack of one capacitor will probably not keep the board from posting, especially if I only put the processor 0 in. But I do want to kind of check under processor 0. I'm just using this to kind of help get the processor out of the socket because it's a kind of a tight fit. There we go. I was just using that to lift the lip of the processor up. All right, so under this socket, that looks fine. But under this socket, that is not right. Just rewound the stream, and it looked like that when you took it out of the bag. Check the eBay pics. All right, checking eBay pics. I completely did not see that in the eBay pics, but that was there on the eBay pics. Jeremy says, at first socket 0 looked corroded, but it was just the lighting. Now, socket 0 is a little bit brown, and I think that's probably just from the heat of there being a processor in the socket for who knows how long. Yes, that cap is touching another cap, and I think the other cap it's touching is also not soldered down. We can take a look from another angle. Oh, actually, that's a 1016. I might actually have some of those. In fact, I might have some of those in that size. Yeah, it's disgustingly gross down there. Oh, hi, Frogman, welcome. Well, Jeremy says that would explain the lack of... No, Jeremy, that does not explain... my postcard does not have an LED for 5 volts, so there may have been 5 volts. There's no LED for it on the board. So I don't know if there was or was not 5 volts. I didn't put a multimeter into it. So don't let my comment that there is a lack of 5 volts mislead you into finding a problem, because I was going off of the LEDs on that board and there is not one for 5 volts. Therefore, the lack of a 5 volt LED does not mean there was no 5 volts. It just means there is no LED on the board. So, yes. It's also important in troubleshooting to not get fooled by something that is not present on the diagnostic equipment you are using. All right. This is going to be kind of tricky to get out of here. I'm probably going to just... if I can heat it up, and then there we go. I'm going to presume that that capacitor is probably broken, and I think I just dropped it somewhere. Oh, there it is. All right. This ceramic capacitor beside it is... all right. Okay. I think the important thing is there shouldn't be a short there now. So if that's why it wasn't posting, the short should be gone. Also, we know CPU 0. There's nothing under the socket there. I am also calling into question the premise of the eBay auction. Okay. Let's plug in the power supply again. I have removed the shorted cap. I don't know why the multimeter didn't show it as a direct short, but then again, there might have been just enough of a gap. Jeremy says, I'm trying not to disturb my wife. Oh. Jeremy says, sorry, I had my hearing tested today, and yes, my hearing is diminished. I'm trying not to disturb my wife. Oh, okay. Well, no problem. I just wanted to... I mean, just in case I'd not... I didn't want to mislead anyone thinking there was a 5 volt LED and it wasn't on. All right, so we'll go with one CPU again. Power on. Oh. Oh, we got some postcodes. We got postcode 22. Oh, we're cycling. Okay, the CPU is starting to get warm. We're postcode 0. CPU is getting warm, but we don't have video output. All right. I'm going to turn that off for a moment to double check things. So we did get a few postcodes. So that capacitor was causing trouble. The lack of it should not be affecting CPU 0, which this is CPU 0. Thomas, that you said popped tantalum, but that is not a popped tantalum capacitor, I don't think. Although it could be. Kind of looks like it might have been knocked out of place, but maybe it did pop. All right, so let's guess we'll try posting. We'll try a post again. Whoop. No postcodes. Try reset. CPU is getting warm, but nothing was on the postcard. Was not showing any postcodes. Hmm. Okay, the board is coming out of reset. Interestingly enough, it's turning on when I... All right. All right, we'll try a few more things, and then we'll maybe actually repair something. Make sure the BIOS chip isn't corrupted. Luckily, there are some images on the retro web, so... Sure, I could see it maybe starting to boot once. Oh, okay. That'd be a funny failure mode, but let's just check. Wow. Okay, this flash chip is like... The flash chip is putting up a fight. It is not wanting to come out of the socket. Yes, I am... There we go. Alright, pretty sure this is going to be an early flash chip. Yep, I think I can kind of make out the top of the logo. Pretty sure that's going to be a flash chip of some sort. Alright, let's... I want to peel back the label and see what it is. Wondering if it's just maybe something like a 29F010. Ooh, wow, I think there's a W29E. Wow, I think I was closer with my guess than I thought I did. There's a little paper label under it. Oh, it must be the version number of what was flashed, and then during manufacture they put the award BIOS sticker on it when they, I guess, probably during final test or something, because that's the license sticker. W29E011. All right, my guess was actually pretty close. 29E 011. Oh, that's annoying. Oh, there it is. Here it is. My programmer supports it. All right. All right. So I'm looking at it and I don't know. It looks weird. It's not the format I was expecting. Let me go download the one of the BIOSes for this board. I'll download the latest award BIOS. All right. Let me open that with hex editor. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this original BIOS. That I don't know if it's corrupted or not, but I'm going to save it. All right. All right. So I have saved it. Now I am going to use the RetroWeb Discord. I am going to do a ROM check on it, and I'm going to see if it exists on the RetroWeb. Because you can do on the ROM check channel, you can do a exclamation mark exist on a bin file, and the RetroWeb will tell you if it's been uploaded. All right. All right. File hash does not match multiple string matches. All right. All right. So it's given me 4 links. Oh, there we go. That's version 3.03. All right. Yes, they do have 3.03 on their website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract and I'm going to load the file, the 3.03 on their website. And then I'm going to do a verify. All right, there are some mismatches. However, boards of this era do write some data to the flash. And I think the can't remember, ECD data or whatnot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and program. Actually, I'm pretty sure the mismatch is data that gets written by the BIOS for plug and play. I don't think the BIOS is corrupt because the mismatched section is like 128 or 256 bytes of data that would be zero in the file you would flash to the board. I think the award flash program would normally not, it would ignore that section of the BIOS because it's usually the ESCD data or something like that. All right, anyways, I just wrote the latest version of the BIOS to this chip. And using my programmer, that would have reset the ESCD data if that would happen to be causing it to not post. In the off chance that that's causing the problem. So at least, all right, so let's see now. If I turn the board on, and we will try to turn it on, and it is not trying to post. Okay, I got one weird idea. Otherwise, okay, actually, I've got two ideas. The first one, there is a turbo switch on this board. I've seen boards that behave interestingly if you try to post with the turbo switch off. So I'm going to put a jumper on the turbo switch. All right. And no postcodes. All right, the other thing I'm going to do is, because I know the Dallas module is dead, it is socketed, so I'm just going to very carefully try to get it out of its socket. And then I'm going to walk over to my shelf, if I can remember where I put it. And I actually have a brand new module from the Glitchworks ready to go on a motherboard, and I guess this, in the event that this board just does not like a dead Dallas module, let me see if I can find one I don't have on a board. I've got a brand new one that I got the other day. Let me see if I can find it. I set it on the shelf over here. I thought I did. Maybe I put it on this shelf? Nope. Alright, I'm trying to find the brand new Dallas module that I bought. I thought I put it over here with the Sun workstation because Glitch sent 2 modules in one anti-static bag. And one of them is the module for the Sun. And in true fashion, I've misplaced them both. Excellent. Yeah, fun. Alright. Well, I probably didn't put them where I thought I did. Somewhere I have another module that is not in a board. At least I don't think it's in a board. Although maybe maybe I did put it in a board now that I think about it. Let me see if I can find that board. That is not that board. And now you're probably thinking I've completely forgotten about this board. Oh, great. Alright, well, at least I got the weekend to find the module. Alright. So, I'm going to call it on this board. Currently, it's ranking as a eBay regret because it's not posting at all. Maybe it just needs recapped. It is possible. Here I am trying to put that Pinium in backwards again. All right. I guess we can give it one more shot with both Piniums in. No. They get warm, but there's no postcodes. I mean, the only other thing I can think of, which would be absolutely ridiculous, if it were to be the case, and I don't have the board handy. I don't know where I put it. It's like, maybe this board requires -5 volts, but that would be ridiculous. I don't know. I'm considering I got it to start to post once. I'm wondering if there's like I don't know, something simple still. Anyways, I guess I'm gonna have to. All right. All right. So that's where we're going to draw it on this one. To remind me that I got to do that, I'm going to do that. That's that tantalum cap. Otherwise, I'm just going to stick it in the anti-static bag and, well, add it to the repair pile. So let's see here. What have I managed to do tonight? I've managed to put the Quadra 650's power supply in the repair pile to replace all the Rifa caps. I've got the Pentium Pro motherboard added to the repair pile because it won't post. And I've not removed anything from the repair pile. So far, I'm not doing a very good job of removing things from the repair pile. Jeremy says the repair pile seems to be growing like a tree, better than a stinking weed. Well, I mean, I would like to get some of these things to work, maybe someday, somewhere, sometime. So if you've got a dual Pentium Pro motherboard you'd like to donate to the channel, well, you can reach out to me. In the meanwhile, I'll put the board on the repair pile and, well, someday I'll come back to it, because I'll have to sit down with the oscilloscope probably to see if there's any signs of life. I guess if I'm going to try to repair something, let's at least try a repair. I'm using that term loosely because once you see what I'm about to do first, it's not really counting as a repair. More so than a curiosity. Like, so I'm just as bad. Jesse says, take away his eBay. Mike says, no more eBay purchases until you half the repair pile. BCF purchases don't count. Well, Mike, the problem is some of my eBay purchases are so that I can repair things on the repair pile. So a no eBay purchases in the name of reducing the repair pile would just mean that the repair pile is at in a deadlock state. So no, I'm just going to try not to buy boards that are broken on eBay. That's what I'm going to have to do. Jeremy is eyeballing a motherboard that is almost 2 feet long on eBay, and he wants to run DOS on it. Yeah, Jeremy told me about the board, and all right, let's see. Will this socket fit? Excellent. Oh, okay, there is a bent pin on the socket. Par for the eBay course. Yeah, Jeremy told me about the board, and it's not something I really wanted to try because, well, I'll let Jeremy, if Jeremy wants to describe what type of board it is, I will then explain why I probably won't be looking at one of them to try to run DOS on it. But if Jeremy doesn't want to reveal the type of board now, then I will, well, I'll keep my reasoning to myself. And no, it has nothing to do with eBay. Oh, there's actually several bent pins on this. Mike says, lol, I get it. Maybe I should have said no more new projects until the old ones are done. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm going to try to do. No more new eBay projects. The inbound item stuck in Atlanta doesn't count because I already bought it. I was actually hoping to have it for Wheel of Regrets tonight, but its Wheel of Regrets score is currently... It got snowed into Atlanta. Well, I guess better snowed into Atlanta than the the delivery truck had an accident, and I had to get a tracking status like the one I got for my computer clan calendar. Yes, I actually had a package that got the tracking status got updated to the package was damaged, it will not be delivered or returned. The sender will receive more information. And it was my 2025 calendar from Crazy Ken at the Computer Clan. Oh, Jeremy doesn't want to say anything more because the idea itself is ridiculous. Okay. Well, fair enough. Alright. So, get that even... Well, that is... Okay. So, yes, I am attaching that socket to this board, and I tacked a pin, and by golly, I can't tell what I tacked, because I think I'm going to need to add some flux to get the solder to flow. Luckily, this is a machined socket, so I'm not too worried about getting solder into the pins of it. Oh, wait a minute. Oh. That's not taking solder at all. Okay, that is something I probably should have realized. There is solder mask on the vias. And the solder mask is doing what solder mask does. It masks solder. I don't think I'm going to be able to solder that socket in. Not easily, at least. No, it's not a thick... I don't think it's because the PCB's thick. I think it's because there's solder mask on the vias. Because there is, like... The blob of solder stayed entirely on my soldering iron. I'll try a different pin. But it stayed entirely on my soldering iron. It didn't even try to flow into the via. No, it did not go down into the via. It stayed on the end of the socket pin. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to install that socket. Not without removing the solder mask in that entire area of the board, but then that just increases the chances for solder bridges. Jeremy says no upgrade for Chew, which I don't get the Seinfeld reference. Oh well. Okay, so I can't install a math coprocessor socket in this board, so well that's annoying. Sure, I realize not every vintage computer got a math coprocessor in it, but I was going to put one in this one. I thought it would be cool. But, well, it looks like we'll have a socket for another day. All right. That is not to say that this board is done for. I will at least put tape over the window before anyone of the window of the IC ROM before anyone complains. I can at least, if you'll remember, I did desolder the ISA slot there, and I can at least go ahead and reattach that. That should actually flow quite fine because there's no solder mask here on the end of the via, so yeah. There we go. That flowed. Yep, those flowed. Let me double check the slot alignment. All right, I think that slot looks. Yep, that looks square to me. Let's give it the. I'm not going to insert the card because there's only 2 pins soldered, but I'm at least going to see if it looks like it would go in. And yep, that looks straight. Unlike the slot here from the factory that is crooked. You know, I think the card might actually go in, but I bet that would put undue stress on that. So we'll see if we. I think I have. We might have time to actually fix that tonight too. It's a relatively easy fix. I just need to desolder the socket, push it in all the way, and then resolder it. It probably didn't get pushed in all the way at the factory. Alright, so I guess this board won't get a math coprocessor upgrade. At least not without me finding a way to get the solder mask off of the vias only and not the traces around them. Alright. Now, the reason why, for anyone that didn't see the stream where I removed this part of the slot, I was trying to put it in my lunchbox PC case, but this motherboard has other conflicts that I didn't catch when I bought it, so. I may have to. Actually. Oh. I thought the saying was no soup for you, not no soup for chew. Although, maybe there's more to that episode than meets the eye. You know, that is like a not really great looking soldering job. I don't know if that's because it's just so cold in the basement. Or what, but I don't know. Well, given the fact I'm running a space heater, so I can even bear to be down here, uh, and this board probably needs preheating, I am going to set it aside and I'll finish the fix later. Let me at least mark this so I know. That I need to double check that. If it wasn't for the fact of how much heat I have on right now, I would pull out my hot air gun and try to preheat the board some, but that's not a compatible operation tonight. So I'll set this board aside and maybe on an evening where it's not quite as cold outside, so I can afford to, will feel like maybe turning the heat down some, then we'll take another look at that. But I don't know what the weather is outside right now, but I think it was supposed to get down to 20 tonight. Not quite as cold as it was last night, but yeah, it's 23 outside right now. And I think it's supposed to get down to 21, they say. 20, close enough. And I think it's just because that board has such a large ground plane that's the problem. Actually, midweek next week, it's supposed to get up to next Tuesday, it's supposed to get up to 50 during the day here. That's nice sounding. Okay, that'll help kind of warm things up in the basement a little bit. All right. So anyways, okay, I'm going to set that board aside. It needs some preheat. Tonight is not a night I want to turn heat off to run the preheater because, as you can probably imagine, by the fact that I am pushing back on turning heat off, my feet are cold. And that would be the heat I would have to turn off first. So, yeah, not going to do that. All right, so is there anything I've got on the repair deck that is not a board that's going to need preheated to successfully solder? That's a good question. Oh, I know what I can do. I do have a repair. Oh, wait, there's also those hard drives we could start to test. Ooh, they're two good ideas. And actually, despite the fact that that slot I need to preheat it so I can reflow that slot so that it really gets a good connection. And nice looking solder joints. The board itself should work. That soldering shouldn't have affected that. I know, famous last words. And the nice thing is, I have a Mr. BIOS on this motherboard, which is part of the reason why I wanted to put a math coprocessor on it. This is one of my few motherboards that's actually working that has a Mr. BIOS available for it. Mr. BIOS adds cool features, like large disk support. So there's actually a good chance that this 386 board, I know, probably be a bit slow, But I think the Mr. BIOS will actually... Oh, that's not the slot I soldered, but that card is certainly not going in easily. There we go. Oh. That's weird. Come on. There we go. Alright, so I think Mr. BIOS may have a chance of actually supporting some of these 20 gig hard drives without me having to find a XTIDE BIOS on a card. And that is at least a convenience. Of course, I'm not sure if it will, but this is one way to find out. We'll try it. All right. Let me plug in. I got flash floppy connected so that I can boot DOS. If I can find the thumb drive for it. Update. The hard drive for it just fell on the floor. All right. Some foam in the pins of this hard drive. Let me see if I can get the foam out of the pins of the hard drive, and then I will plug the hard drive in, and then I'll grab the flash thumb drive. Actually, you know, first what we'll do is we'll just even see if any of these we'll see if the drive spins up. Because if the drive doesn't spin up, then we'll go on to the next drive. Oh, that's an 80 gig hard drive. Okay, I'm not going to push my luck with an 80 gig. We'll start with this 20 gigabyte drive that I think Jesse said this one's probably already dead. So we'll put that to the test. And I have to agree, there's a high likelihood that this drive was already dead before the seller shipped it. All right. I guess I should plug in a keyboard just in case we actually do post. All right, and amazingly enough, the hard drive is spinning up. Fortunately, well, that's weird. I'm not seeing any video output. Well, that's really weird. Howdy, Jack. Oh, don't tell me the Pentium Pro motherboard was this Realtek video card. Of course, and I have misplaced my remote postcode reader thing, so I can't actually see the postcard that I just put in. All right. Let me find something to... No postcodes. That's weird. Did my Realtek video card fail? Oh! No. I'm sure someone was probably screaming in the chat really loudly. Oh, Thomas is saying Trident card, 50% reliable. Oh, good night, Eric. Yeah, no one, not even I, noticed the glaring problem. Word's not going to post without a processor. Yeah, it's getting late. All right. Disk I/O error, of course. All right. Thomas Armstrong says you don't need a CPU. All right. So let's see if fdisk even sees this drive. Jeremy says getting late. Nope, it is late. Okay, it is late. I don't even know if Mr. BIOS picked this drive up, so I may have to reboot. All right, so fdisk says, we do have a fixed disk. All right, well that's all right. Jack says 10:47 here, and I'm just getting around to having dinner. Jack says, absolutely true. You don't need a CPU if you don't need to centrally process anything. Jeremy says, somewhat, yeah. Okay. Jeremy says it will still only do a 504 megabyte partition. That is. Apparently true. All right. Fixed disk. Oh. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Oh, it cannot identify this drive. All right, I'm carefully turning the drive over so I can enter the geometry that's marked on the drive. If it is. Oh, maybe it's not. All right, maybe I need a newer board. A newer board. All right, type 0. All right, type 46, 47. Okay. Well, apparently this Mr. BIOS is... yes, Jeremy. Okay, so 386, even with Mr. BIOS, is too old for a 20 gigabyte hard drive because if it was being detected as a 20 gigabyte hard drive, then that boot disk was a Windows 98 boot disk, and it would have totally supported enabling large disk mode, which would have let me format it as a 20 gigabyte drive so we could see if there were any bad sectors. Jeremy says, I'd be thrilled to run a 2 gigabyte hard drive on a 386. That was not the point of this exercise, though. The point of this exercise was to see if the drive works. And maybe I foolishly used the 386 board because it was already on the bench. All right, let me go grab a Pentium board. A Pentium board with onboard I/O and hopefully RAM and a processor. Here we go. Here we go. Well, okay. I can't guarantee this board will support it as a 20 gigabyte hard drive, but it should at least seat 8. That will at least be a compromise. Although, if it sees it as 8, I can, there might be something I can do about it. But the important thing is it has onboard I/O, so I can plug the hard drive in. I can plug the floppy drive in. And it's already set up for the processor that's installed in it. So we won't have to wait for me to find jumper settings. There we go. That. Okay. Video card. ISA. All right. Keyboard. Inconveniently located. All right. Oh, I guess I probably should plug the processor fan in. I think it's an AMD processor, but there we go. Oh, that's weird. Oh, I thought this board worked. Alright, let me put a postcard in it, see what the holdup is. Alright. Oh, we got no postcodes. Alright, I know this processor goes on this board, because I left it in for a reason. Alright, I'll reseat the RAM. RAM doesn't really fit the greatest. Alright, fine. Let me unplug the floppy and the hard drive. And it's posting. So one of those is... One of those was in backwards, even though both of the cables are keyed. Alright. Plug the hard drive in. And that alright, let's plug the oh, okay. Maybe this board has a bad IDE channel on it. That's not good. Well, alright, so I got a board that's going to probably go in the scrap pile. Because oh, I have a feeling it's a board I misfiled. I had a board that had a bad IDE channel on it, and unfortunately, there's really nothing I can do to fix the IDE channel because it's in the chipset. I mean, sure, I won't actually scrap it, but it's at least going to not go in a box of these motherboards are fully working motherboards. There are times when alright. Alright, well, let's just exit. We'll boot into DOS, and yeah, this board was in a box of boards that should have been working, but possible this board failed since the last time I used it, but that's weird. I thought... Alright, there's another board I have floating around here somewhere that I'll make a note to test. I gotta find it first. Maybe I got two boards mixed up. I had a board that had a bad primary IDE channel, and I thought I set it aside. It's possible this is the actual board that had the bad primary IDE channel, and the other board might actually be the working board, or I have two boards that have a bad primary IDE channel. Alright, at least we get large disk support. So, it did detect it as a 20 gigabyte hard drive. So will we pass test number 1, which is verifying drive integrity? You'll remember the Bigfoot drive I had, which did get returned because it was a total box of fail. It would not get to 100%. Jeremy says, I can't remember if there was a 2.5 megabyte hard drive. Well, I'm sure at some point in history there was a hard drive that had only 2.5 megabytes on it, even if that was due to bad sectors. Alright, well. Fortunately, I have plenty of bog standard socket 7 motherboards. There's really nothing special about this one other than plastic 72-pin SIM sockets. Again, no, I won't totally scrap the board. It's handy for debugging. It's just not going to go in a box of boards that are 100% working. I'm gonna make another box that'll be for boards that are usable, not repairable, but still worth holding on to. Because sometimes you need to put stuff on the primary IDE channel. There are some versions of operating systems that don't like being on the secondary channel. Yeah, Jeremy says, I really hate it when a board has 2 IDE channels and one of them is dead. I mean, sure, I could get an IDE card, and disable the onboard ones, and I mean, it would let you use the board, but it would also take up a slot. Which is why I would hold on to the board. But it's not going in a box of boards that's hey, just grab one of these and you're guaranteed for it to be 100% working. I'd need to set it in a special board. Yeah, Mike says, what I call a reference board when troubleshooting another identical board. Yes. It is a fairly popular motherboard. It's an Acer, or not an Acer, it's an AOpen AP5TC. I've seen the boards before. I don't think they were a especially performant board, but I think they were a board that AOpen sold in I think AOpen sold starter kits, although I think they called them something else. That basically it was a case, a motherboard. It was like a case with a motherboard in it. Maybe it had a pre-installed floppy drive or something like that, or maybe a pre-installed AOpen CD-ROM drive. But I think a lot of times it might have just been a case that came with a motherboard. And I think this motherboard is one of them that might have been in those starter bundles. Jeremy says those boards were a dime a dozen. I mean, they were generally fairly reliable back in the day. I don't remember having any trouble with them. I'm pretty sure I probably built a couple systems with it. At least back in the day, they were generally boards that, while they might not blow your socks off with their exceedingly fine-tuned performance parameters, they did generally just work with whatever Socket 7 processors they claim to work with. And there is, when you're selling computers, there is something to be said about a motherboard that's reliable, or at least it works. Yeah, Jeremy says, as in, they were very common, yes. Yes, good to clarify for folks that idiom might have gotten lost upon them. Yes, they were very common boards. I think AOpen sold them separately, but I'm pretty sure they sold cases that had pre-installed motherboards, and I'm pretty sure this was probably one of the boards you could get in those too. I mean, nowadays I would say that if you're running across a motherboard that, yeah, just because it was reliable back in the day doesn't mean you're not going to run into one that has a bad primary IDE channel. I mean, I'll check the board. It's possible that maybe there's a cracked solder joint on the primary IDE connector and an important pin wasn't making contact. But in that case, I would have kind of just expected the board to post and not detect the hard drive. It didn't even start to post, which kind of tells me the channel's probably so dead that plugging anything into it prevented the system from being able to post. Jeremy says, I went through so many of those boards that you may very well have one of the boards I handled decades ago on your bench right now. Yeah. Well, Jeremy, there's another possibility. I have one of the boards that I handled 25 years ago. Although probably not. I mean, I could have, though. That's kind of the mind-blowing thing, that some of these motherboards, it's possible I've handled them before, and I might not never know it, because people move. People give computers away. So, there's no telling that I might have a motherboard I handled 25 years ago, and I might not realize it. The only way I would probably know is if I run across a computer on Facebook Marketplace that has a case badge on it that's the one I designed for the computer shop I worked for. You better believe if I see one of those, I'm going to get it somehow, some way. Yeah, Jeremy says, move, give away, dispose, discover, and resell. Yeah. Yeah, if I find one of those cases that has one of those case badges on it, I'm gonna try to get it. Or at least get the case badge. Jack says, what on earth does 19,57.18 mean? That's not how numbers work. No, Jack, I definitely agree with you. That is not how numbers work. However, that is exactly how print statements work when you limit the number of spaces you allow the number to fill. That is 20 gigabytes, but with not enough, Microsoft did not allow for a 5-digit number before the decimal place. As Jeremy put it, that's MS-DOS's limited capability, yes. Nobody will ever have a hard drive larger than 8 gigabytes. So we'll have the code limit it to 4 digits. So I think it's truncating the number after the 7 and before the decimal place. I have a feeling it's 19,570 something 0.18 megabytes. And that last number is getting truncated. Yeah, Jack says, the decimals are very important on a number that large. Yeah. I would rather them have, truncated the decimal point. Jeremy's pointing out what Bill Gates said at one point, 640K is all you'll ever need. Yes, I would like to see Windows 11 boot in 640K. No virtual memory, that's cheating. That's possibly just enough memory for it to print starting Windows 11 on the screen in text. maybe you could creatively put a spinning circle animation in that RAM too, but yeah. By golly, I think this Maxtor hard drive works. There we go. Okay, so I think the number it was trying to print was 19,569.61, but it failed. Jeremy says, shock. Jaw digs basement instantly. Yeah, I see the cartoon character, Jeremy, where the jaw just drops right to the floor. Yeah. I am kind of surprised. All right, I know what you all are thinking. You know what I'm thinking. I realize I'll go a little longer because I would like to at least maybe try one or two more hard drives. And we're going to go straight for the hard drive that has no chance of working because that would be an interesting way to end the stream that I only grew the repair pile. I only grew the repair pile, but had a working Desk Star. No, let's face it, it's a Death Star hard drive. Which I don't think is jumpered anywhere close to correctly. Yeah, I totally think someone stole the jumpers off of it. Okay, it's a 34.2 gigabyte hard drive, but there is a jumper setting to limit it to 32 gigabytes. I guess for those systems where that extra 4.2 gigabytes is the difference between it works and it doesn't work. Jeremy says mini scribe, aka brick. No, it's an IBM Desk Star hard drive. They were so known for failing. It's the one I joked that it probably was the drive that was dead 20 years ago. But it wasn't really a joke. That's how unreliable these drives are. Okay, so I think to configure this for this computer, I need to put a jumper there. Oh, wait. Yeah, I think that's right. All right, if it doesn't detect it, oh yeah, that's correct. All right. So anyways, there we go. It's an IBM Desk Star, October 1999, and I'm not joking, 34.2 gigabytes. 34.2 gigabytes. Such an odd number for a hard drive. All right. So, all right. Smoke test. I don't know if it's really doing anything. Oh, no. Oh, now it just spun up. Oh, maybe I don't have the power. I may have the power cord not plugged in very well. Oh, actually, I don't have a very good power cord plugged into it. Maybe that's why it didn't spin up right away. It's a splitter cable that's a cheap modern one. Okay, the drive spun up right away. That was not a promising sound. Dex says, no chance of working. Oh, a Death Star. I lost data because of one of those. Yeah. Jeremy says, the jumper settings on those IBM drives always ticked me off when I worked on them. Yep. I think we have a brick. This drive is... It spun up. I heard it start to make noises like it was trying to do a head seek. And then I heard an noise come from it. And now it's probably lost in space. I have a feeling the platter is probably toast. All right. So we have one working drive and one dead drive. All right, let's try the Seagate Barracuda 20 gigabyte, which also has the jumpers removed from it, but that is, oh, possibly not out of malice, because it does look like no jumpers is a valid jumper setting, unlike that IBM drive where there was no valid setting for no jumpers. This drive, no jumpers, is actually a valid setting. Okay. Well, that's not good. Did I put the jumper on the wrong... All right, so that Seagate drive is... That Seagate drive appears to be... All right, well, okay, let me do one last thing. Let me move the jumper to the other position, because I never really liked the way they drew the drawing on the bottom of the drive. Although, in reality... No, actually, I do see that... All right. Yep, that's a dead drive. So we have 2 dead drives and 1 working drive. Well, if you will remember, the quantity for keeping the lot of drives is 3. Oh, hi, Sloopy. Sloopy says, see, it's great. Yeah, it's great being a doorstop. All right, so we have 2 failed drives and 1 working drive. And this drive is making weird clacking noises as I hold it. All right, so this is a Western Digital 20 gigabyte hard drive. And that's not good. All right, let me remove the jumper. Some of these Western Digital drives, they're the only drive on the channel. They don't actually want a jumper. Drive doesn't sound that great. Oh, look at that. So maybe that Seagate drive that I thought needed a jumper, maybe I should try it without a jumper. Although, given what it says on its chart, I'm not holding out hope that that will actually let the drive work. All right. Western Digital equals what data? Yeah. WD equals what data? All right. Maybe the last drive I test tonight. All right. Enable large disk support. Someone was running NT with this drive. All right. Well, we are going to need 2, 3. Let's see. 4 non-DOS. 1. Three. No, that was delete 4 non-DOS and partition 1. And now we want to create a DOS partition. Jeremy says Western Digitals love the cable select setting for some reason. Despite the fact that I'm not actually using a cable that supports cable select, yeah, you are right. I think you are right, Jeremy. Some of these Western Digitals really want cable select for single drive. Or no jumper. They're happy with no jumper, too. All right, so this hard drive did partition. So we have a 20 gig hard drive candidate. All right, and let's see what we got here. Will it format or will it bad sector? Well, I guess it could do both. All right, well, we got past track 0, so Jack says, I always thought the cable select was just a mythical thing that didn't actually exist. I have actually seen systems that support cable select. Jeremy says they want to be the boss and the only drive in existence. What jerks. Yeah. I want to say that a lot of Dells, especially in this era, actually supported cable select. Like your Dell Optiplexes. Then that might have been in their spirit of, if you got to replace parts in the system and they send a replacement drive to a tech, that they're all just jumpered cable select. It makes it easy to swap components. I think there's some Macs that also use cable select, but I can't recall what those are right offhand. But I want to say that some of the G4s actually have cable select support. If you have the cable, if you're using the cable that Apple shipped. Because I want to say for some reason that the mirror drive door can do cable select. Or at least the FireWire 800 can. Because I think I've used cable select. But Then again, I might have been using a Western Digital drive, and maybe that's why I think it can support cable select, because of the wonky Western Digital jumper settings. Anyways, we'll let this drive format, and if it formats, then my stack of good drives will be 2, and 2 will be the number of good drives. And 1 is the number of bad drives. And 1 I put back on the pile because I just wanted to double check that it wasn't like this Western Digital and wanted no. Okay, Mike says correct on the G4 Max. Jeremy says Dell's Western Digital hard drives and Intel CPUs was the go-to recipe for a corporate workstation for a long time. Yeah, I mean, you'd run into like HP workstations or some other brand from time to time, but so many companies seem to use Dell. You are right. Of course, in a lot of cases, it's because they'd standardized on another vendor and that vendor went out of business. And, well, when they put it out for bid, I think Dell won. But that's probably because Dell was getting the cost down, and yes, maybe Dell was the Compaq of the time, or not Compaq, Commodore of the time, trying to bring the price down and put your competitors out of business. You know, I just had a thought on this socket that wouldn't take solder. You know, it could be the socket. The more I think about it, there could be some plating on this socket that just won't take leaded solder. Now that I think about it, the eBay seller didn't actually. I don't think they put the picture of the tube on the listing. That could have some lead-free plating on it that won't take lead solder, or at least won't take lead solder at low temps. I may at some point just try soldering a pin into that socket on that board. One that I know will take leaded solder, and just make sure it's not funky plating on that socket. Jeremy says, by the way Dell got started is a very interesting story. It happened at a place that my dad worked for starting a mere 3 years later. I will give y'all a hint. Rust was involved, even if it was only surface rust. I thought Dell started in a dormitory. I thought Michael Dell started Dell while he was in college or something like that. Or am I getting it confused with another computer company? Or is that Gateway, maybe? There was one of the computer companies where I sure thought it got started in a dormitory. Jeremy says it did, but how do you think he got those computers to his customers? I I had presumed he shipped them or delivered them, but that part I don't know, because I think the part I know is that okay, so I was correct. It was Dell that started in a dormitory. Okay, I knew there was one that started in a dormitory. For all the computer companies that started in garages, one started in a dormitory. I mean, I'm pretty sure he didn't have customers coming into his dorm room. I'm pretty sure the college would have caught on to that pretty quick and put a stop to that. And look at that. We have another good 20 gigabyte hard drive, despite the poor packaging. Oh, Jeremy says he did sell a few out of the trunk of his rusty old Chevrolet. I should have known cars were involved too. All right, so we got another good 20 gigabyte hard drive. Amazing. Despite the fact that the eBay seller put bubble wrap on top of the drives and that was it. Definitely not anything I would call proper packaging. All right, we will come back to the Seagate drive that I wanted to check with no jumpers, just in case it actually wasn't detecting because it needed no jumpers. Because it had no jumpers on it, so... no, that most certainly did not detect. Okay, this Seagate drive is bad. So it looks like we have 2 bad drives and 2 good drives. And my minimum threshold was 3 drives if they were all, like, small ones. Jack says I could make a RAID array of 20 gigabyte drives. Jeremy says, my dad told me he'd been inside Michael Dell's old dorm room a couple times. It's set up like a museum of sorts now. Okay, so we got that Barracuda drive is dead. I don't think it even spun up that time. All right, so I did, if I have 3 good 20 gigabyte drives, that was kind of the point where I said, okay, I'll keep them. So I'm just curious. This is another Western Digital 20 gigabyte. And it detects. What do you know? Because honestly, I knew the Desk Star drive was going to be dead. I mean, there was no way it was going to work. And quite honestly, if I have 3 20 gigabyte drives, those are handy because those are good for systems that have a 32 gigabyte limit. And if you put it in a system that has an 8 gigabyte limit, well, I mean, you're not wasting a gigantic drive for what's the chance that this was the second drive in that NT system that the drive I just formatted was in? Nope. Option 4. I'll put it this way. If I needed a drive for a system that had an 8 gigabyte limit, I would much rather use a 20 gigabyte drive limited to 8 gigabytes than a like 80 gigabyte drive or larger limited to 8 gigabytes. Because there's a number of systems that support larger hard drives, and I would rather put the large hard drives in those. Jeremy says, so why waste your time on the Death Star drive? I'm not wasting time on it, Jeremy. It got one shot at working. It failed miserably. I'm not going to try any heroics on it. However, if I have at least 3 drives working, which was the point where I was going to say I'm not going to return them, 3 20 gigabyte hard drives working, or 4 in total, then we'll open up the Death Star drive and see if, in fact, its platter is destroyed like so many of them are, where basically the drive scrapes the magnetic coating off the glass plate on its own. But if I gotta... But if I have to send it back to the seller, well, obviously I can't break its seal. All right. So we'll do one last drive. We'll see if it formats. Because if this formats, then I know that I'm keeping the drives. Because if this drive formats, then, well, it's the last 20 gigabyte hard drive. So that would meet my minimum threshold for keeping the drives. And I'll test the other two later. Just so I can know if I need to scrap them or what. We're not going to open the Death Star drive tonight. That'll be later. Because it is quite late. And I have about exceeded my tolerance for how long I'm willing to sit down here with my feet freezing. Yes, I've been running my space heater behind me, but the space heater behind me does nothing for my feet. The one at my feet helps my feet, but it's not a very powerful one. And that's why it only lasts so long, and then, well, eventually Jeremy says, time to check your eyelids for leaks. Oh, yeah. That's probably past that time, and I'll probably regret it in the morning, but the eBay regrets were strong. Potential eBay regrets were strong tonight. So, anyways, had the Quadra 650 from GutBomb that I didn't buy on eBay. Great purchase. Thank you again, GutBomb, for hooking me up. I got the friends off eBay price on it, so that's always a good way to incentivize me buying a nice Mac. And it's in good shape, too, so I'll enjoy that. And then for the potential eBay regrets, we've got the Mitsumi floppy drive that I ran out of time to install it in the gateway that it's for. I might do that on Dave's stream just to get the floppy drive in the computer. Or may just do that. It's not really an exciting install. The gateway it goes in, it's more frustrating to replace that drive than I really want to admit to. But anyways, we got that drive. Got a socket for that 386 board. But the board won't take solder because I think there's solder mask on the vias, which is not cool. The Dual Pentium Pro motherboard that won't post. And that board was sold as is, so, well, it is in the repair pile. Unfortunately, there was nothing about it that I found that I could point back to the seller saying you damaged it while packaging it. It's in the description that it was pictured. And then the hard drives where we are about to see if I hit my threshold of 3. They were so poorly packaged, but it's beginning to look like the seller might have lucked out. Maybe, just maybe, somehow, that package made it through the postal service and no one dropped it. Although hard drives can survive a fall from a higher distance if they are off than if they are on, so that probably helped. Probably also helped that they're modern drives that self-park, so the heads would have been away from data areas, but still, they had so little packing on 5 sides of the drives that I'm quite honestly amazed that 2 of them formatted with no issues, and this one's as far as it is with no issues, and I knew the Death Star wasn't going to work, so I didn't factor it into my calculations of the minimum value I needed to get from the auction lot to keep it. Jeremy's asking, have you left the hard drive seller any feedback? If you haven't, I would leave them a neutral rating. No, I haven't left feedback yet. I'll always wait until I test items. Even that Pentium Pro motherboard, I mean, they'll get positive feedback because they packaged it well and it is as described. But I will note in my positive feedback that the board, I have been unable to get the board to post. So it's kind of like they did keep up to their end of the bargain, but I am going to note in my feedback that the board, I have been so far unable to get the board to post. I've not had an eBay, I've had to leave a couple of those, and I've not had an eBay seller try to get me to change my feedback then. Probably because they see that their positives went up, and they probably don't even read them, some of the sellers. But at least it leaves a note if buyers go look at their positive feedback, or go look at their feedback. At least buyers might see a note that they occasionally sell stuff that, while it does meet the description, it doesn't work. Yeah, the hard drive seller will get neutral feedback because it was poorly packaged. However, to leave neutral feedback, I have to wait 7 days after receiving it. eBay has a built-in cooldown period. So I actually can't leave them neutral feedback right now because it hasn't been 7 days yet. Fortunately, I don't usually leave feedback immediately for any seller because I usually will, well, A, I don't always get to test everything immediately, and B, eBay makes it just hard enough to leave feedback, like for multiple items, especially when you do it on your phone, that I usually will just wait until I'm ready to sit down and muddle through it. So yeah, I do not leave feedback when I receive something. I always test it first. I mean, if it's something you can test. I mean, there are things I buy on eBay that you never see on the channel because they have nothing to do with the channel. And, well, those are easier to, quote, test, usually. Because, well, it's usually a physical item that all you've got to do is give it a cursory look over and it's good. Like, I've bought, for example, if I've bought coffee mugs or things like that on eBay, and those, it's pretty easy to tell you got what you described. Did it survive in one piece? Does the handle fall off as soon as you pull it out of the box? Does it look like the picture? Does it spring a leak if you fill it with liquid? All right, yep, it's tested. But yeah, I mean, I would say the vintage electronics are the hardest thing to test because you actually have to drag stuff out to test them. And in some cases, like we found out with that 386 board, you can drag something out to test it, but it's the wrong thing and you got to set another one up. And then you find your primary IDE channel is dead, so you got to move to the secondary. Yeah, the fun with vintage electronics. All right, we are 90% complete. Oh, okay, there was a little delay there, I thought. I was getting worried. No, this drive sounds fine. I'm not hearing any signs of distress. I probably looked at the 90 right after it changed and thought it was taking too long. Wow, I think Thomas Thomas says it goes slower if you watch. Yeah. Jeremy says, do you have a drive solution that is small in capacity but is SATA? I do have some small SATA drives, yes. Although, well, I have a few. Depending on what converters I have on hand, I have more than a few. All right, so I have 3 working 20 gigabyte hard drives from that eBay lot. Fantastic. I guess that means that I will not be returning them. I mean, there are 2 more drives to test. I'm not doing that tonight. But the 3 20-gigabyte hard drives work. The Death Star does not work. We'll open it up on some stream someday. But anyways, so that concludes the stream for tonight. I've gone longer than I wanted to. But anyways, let's see. Sadmax says, honestly, the most recent thing I bought from eBay was really easy to test. Were all the parts attached and in roughly the expected condition? Yep, yeah. Yes, some things are easier to test than others. I am not saving the dead hard drives to put on walls. That is not my decorating style. Yeah. So, no, I'm not going to decorate the walls with dead hard drives. Try the Death Star after it's had a warmer day. Yeah. Seriously. Anyways, alright. I have gone longer than I wanted to tonight, so I'd like to thank everyone for joining me tonight, hanging out in the chat, being cool. Don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. I don't always spend practically the entire stream on eBay regrets, but, well, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. Because eBay regrets are repair candidates, too. Anyways, with that, I am going to wish you all a great rest of your day. Hope to see you here next time. Better put that there with that board so I don't lose track of it. Let me make sure I get my finger where it needs to go to end the stream. So anyways, take care and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care.